Good night, good night, good night. Today I'm with you on the cutting edge. Jimmy Cliff. It's all about Jimmy Cliff in the night, you know. Yeah, man, all about Jimmy Cliff in the night, yeah. That was when I first hit. The one where you were playing, you know, Hurricane Hattie. One of the first hit him making a teenager style too, you know, yes. When he was a teenager. Hurricane Hattie. Jimmy Cliff. Ska style. Yeah, we're going to take you on a journey. Yeah, man, of Jimmy Cliff. And later, anytime, if any Jimmy Cliff you want to hear, call me and tell me what you want to hear. Any Jimmy Cliff. Trust me. Any Jimmy Cliff you want to hear, call me and tell me, okay. Yeah, man, this is the program where we're going to ramp for fine through the entire year till you say any Jimmy Cliff. I mean, any Jimmy Cliff. Because you know, so we're going to play some Jimmy Cliff for you never hear yet. So Jimmy passed away. And there's some people say born 1948. Some people say born 1944. Some people say he's 81. Some people say he's 77. So, well, I hear him say, in an interview, I hear him say, him born 1948. But when I'm later them say, well, him say a 48, when I'm later them say a 44. Him born in Adelphi, near Summerton there. So I don't know why they, well, I want to tell you something, you know, I'll tell you a secret. I have an old passport. Bob Marley, well, I don't know that, but Bob Marley passport tonight. And in the passport, it says born April. Yes, in born April. And that Bob Marley passport say. I have a documentary we have a play done by Pat Clark from IRFM, you know, so Pat Clark is almost like the historian here all the while on IRFM. Give some history, proverbs and all these things. Well, we have a documentary we have a play. This was before, this was when IRFM first achievement award ushered in, and it was given to Jimmy Cliff. So stand by for that. Yeah, so as I tell you, we have a documentary to play from Pat Clark, and we're going to play it right now. Right now.
Welcome to The Jamaican Dream, a documentary on the work and achievements of international reggae superstar Dr. James Chambers, popularly known as Jimmy Cliff. I'm your host, Pat Clark. Journey with me back in time to deep rural Jamaica along the meandering roads and tracks, flanked by lush tropical foliage, across quaint little bridges and bubbling rivers, into a community where mountains and cliffs seem to surround you. The natural beauty of the environment is breathtaking. It's the year 1948, where in the remote hills of Adelphi Land near Somerton in St. James, Jamaica, Christine Chambers gives birth to a second male child. His father, Lilbert, gives him the name James. Kings have been called by that name. What's in a name? The name James means one who is honest, kind, brilliant, often inventive, and of high inspiration. It also denotes determination, creativity, and dedication to a cause. It is no surprise then that even as a child, James Chambers had a vision that would have seemed daunting to many people in his humble surroundings. He knew that there was a wonderful world out there with beautiful people, and he wanted to travel it. From a tender age, James recognized his ability to sing. That was his passion. His brother Vincent recalls his love for singing.
I know he used to love singing, but so that's where he ends up. He could actually sing any music on a jukebox if he hear it once, so that was it.
In an agrarian society, the Somerton School sought to give a well-rounded education. James Chambers recalls.
Back in those days, we had knowledge of, they gave knowledge of gardening. We had to do agricultural work. So you learn how to plant things, grow things. Then we had knowledge of woodwork. You had to learn how to make things by hand. And so it wasn't only academics. And those lessons of the variety of things that I learned as a child, they have become so valuable to me now.
Far from being naive, James Chambers, now popularly known as Jimmy Cliff, knew that it would be a hard road to travel to get to his destination. He wanted to be an international singer. Agriculture was not his cup of tea, and his mind was made up. The journey started for him in Somerton.
Somerton is my backbone. It's my navel string cut there.
Yes.
At that point in time, there was there was no hospital, so the nurse, they call out the nurse when your mother is ready to give birth and to come. So Somerton is so important to me. I've learned all my lessons of growing up there. I never left Somerton to come to Kingston until I was about 12 years old. So, that's my formal formation as a being, as an artist, as a man, and searching for my identity. They were all formed there before I came to Kingston.
During his early days at the Somerton All-Age and Infant School, his budding creative genius began to unfold. His friend Ronald Reed spoke with us about his creativity.
Jimmy is a man. He always loved singing from tender years. Because when he was in Somerton, he would just make all he say, take a sardine tin and make a little guitar, right? Throw man and sing on the sidewalk. Because he usually do it at a man named Louis Gate. That man was a rich man in Somerton. So he sit down on the gate and sometimes play and sing. Then after he do concert in schoolroom, in this little schoolroom here, you do concert, penny concert.
James began writing songs while still at primary school in St. James, listening to a neighbor's sound system. At about age 11, he won the Pick a Star talent competition in Montego Bay. He was determined to become a singer and to hone his talent. His father agreed for him to move to Kingston at age 12, where he would get more exposure. Daisy Reed, a friend of the family, recalls young James's trip to Kingston.
In Kingston as a boy pan country bus. I guess at the bus near Morning Star. And his father, when he agree, he go to. But he was well behaved. And he always loving to the children, loving to children.
While still going to school in Jamaica, James sought out many producers while trying to get his songs recorded. His stage name was Jimmy Cliff. Cliff because he wanted to achieve the highest level possible in his chosen profession. Initially, Jimmy Cliff did not have much luck, but he was determined to succeed. Jimmy Cliff continued to enter talent shows and took every opportunity available to him to showcase his talent. His friend Ralston Reed recalls.
And when I went to Kingston one night, I was there at the John Opportunity Knock, who was training guys to sing and play music. And I hear they call that one Mr. Chambers from Somerton will be acting in Kingston as a singer. I said, but my God, it's Jimmy that. I know him so much. because I grew with him actually, although I was an elder for him. So I went to that show and I saw Jimmy there was singing without a guitar, just using mic and sing, and it was so glorious and happy to me that night and to other singers fans.
One night, Jimmy Cliff was walking past the record store and restaurant as they were about to close. He reportedly pushed himself in and convinced one of the managers, Leslie Kong, to record him. His career took off when Hurricane Hattie became a hit while he was age 14. It was produced by Kong, with whom Cliff remained until Kong's death in 1971. Jimmy Cliff's international debut album was Hard Road to Travel, released in 1967. It received excellent reviews and included the song Waterfall, which became a hit in Brazil and won the International Song Festival. Waterfall was followed in 1969 by Wonderful World, Beautiful People and Vietnam in 1970, both popular throughout most of the world. Bob Dylan called Vietnam the best protest song he had ever heard. In 1972, Jimmy Cliff starred as Ivanhoe Ivan Martin in the classic reggae film The Harder They Come, directed by Perry Hensel. The film tells Martin's story. He's a young Jamaican man without funds arriving in Kingston from the country. He tries to make it in the recording business, but without success. Eventually, he turns to a life of crime. The soundtrack album of the film was a huge success that sold well across the world, bringing reggae to an international audience for the first time. It remains one of the most internationally significant films to have come out of Jamaica since independence. After a series of albums, Cliff took a break and traveled to Africa and subsequently converted to Islam. He quickly returned to music, touring for several years before he recorded with Kool and the Gang. In 1984, Jimmy Cliff appeared in the Pink Top Festival in Landgraf, Netherlands. During the River Tour, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band added Cliff's previously little-known song Trap to their live set. It achieved great prominence when included on 1985's We Are the World benefit album. His follow-up album, Cliffhanger, in 1985, won a Grammy Award for Best Reggae Album, though it was his last major success in the United States until 1993. Also in 1985, Cliff contributed to the song Sun City, a protest song written and composed by Stephen Van Zandt and recorded by artists united against apartheid to convey opposition to the South African policy of apartheid. Following this, Cliff provided backing vocals on the Rolling Stones' 1986 album Dirty Work and appeared in the comedy Club Paradise, co-starring with Robin Williams and Peter O'Toole, and contributed several songs to the soundtrack, including 7-Day Weekend, which he sang with Elvis Costello. In 1988, his song Shelter of Your Love was featured in the hit film Cocktail. Jimmy Cliff appeared in the film Marked for Death in 1990, performing John Crow with the Jimmy Cliff Band. His recording of You Can Get It If You Really Want was used as a campaign anthem by the Sandinista National Liberation Front in the 1990 election in Nicaragua. In 1991, Jimmy Cliff performed at the second Rock in Rio festival at the Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He continued to sell well in Jamaica and to a lesser extent in the United Kingdom, returning to mainstream pop charts in the USA and elsewhere with a version of Johnny Nash's I Can See Clearly Now on the Cool Runnings film soundtrack in 1993. In 1995, Jimmy Cliff released the single Hakuna Matata, a collaboration with Lebo M, a song from the soundtrack of the film The Lion King. He and Jack Logan were guest stars in the Cartoon Network talk show Space Ghost Coast to Coast. In the year 2001, Jimmy Cliff became an inaugural member of the Independent Music Awards judging panel to support independent artists. In 2002, Cliff released the album Fantastic Plastic People in Europe. This album featured collaborations with Joe Strummer, Annie Lennox, and Sting, as well as new songs that were very reminiscent of Cliff's original hits. In 2004, Jimmy Cliff completely reworked the songs, dropping the traditional reggae in favor of an electronic sound for inclusion in Black Magic. The album also included a recording of Over the Border with Joe Strummer. Jimmy Cliff performed at the closing ceremony to the 2002 Commonwealth Games, and in 2003, his song, You Can Get It If You Really Want, was included in the soundtrack to the film Something's Got to Give. Also appeared in July 2003 at the Paleo Festival in Nyon, Switzerland. The Jamaican government under Percival James Patterson honored Cliff on October 20, 2003 by awarding him the Order of Merit, the nation's third highest honor, in recognition of his contributions to the film and music industry. Jimmy Cliff has never forgotten his roots. He's always going back to his community and giving back. Mrs. Crooks Sterling of his alma mater, the Somerton All-Age and Infant School, recalls.
He's always giving back. And he loves children and he loves education. He's one of our educational partners. And so much so that he has helped us to establish a resource center at the school. And his contribution of $100,000 did us a good job. As a result, the center is up. Not totally equipped, but we are able to assist the students in some ways.
Dr. James Chambers, Jimmy Cliff, has achieved his dream. His life story provides great motivation for youngsters from all over rural Jamaica that they can dream big, and with faith, determination, and God-given talents, dreams can come true.
Yes, that was the lady Pat Clark giving you a little synopsis of a man named Jimmy Cliff. Great artist. I want to tell you, say the first big show I ever do in Jamaica and outside of Jamaica. The one in a summertime. Yes, I remember Plano. He had the poem when we used to run Alburn Road there. And him asks, him tell China was the lead guitarist for Oneness. Jimmy Cliff band the name Oneness. Them I go have a show in a summertime and Plano show them say put a huge up on it, you know. Him have a thing about the sound. And trust me, when we go at summertime, the place cark up. And when we go up on the stage and start, every time I hear the sound, the place tear down just like how you see DJ I go on now. And man, are real. And the same way when we do the poem, the place nearly tear down. Anyway, we record the poem and we go away with Jimmy Cliff, go to Cuba. First time now, me go to Cuba, go do a show. As a matter of fact, first time we go take a plane, as a matter of fact. We go to Cuba, go do a show in a very place name. Havana, and Varadero, yes. Somebody can correct me if I say it wrong. And that was our experience. For no say, yeah, Jimmy Cliff, big Jimmy Cliff, and you're open for Jimmy Cliff. It was something else. And eventually, we do some show with him in America. I remember one in New Mexico. We do some in other places. But Jimmy Cliff we sit down with him and realize him go through many stages in our mind, spiritual stages. And this was one of the stages where him go through. Him figure out about the Rasta vibes and him do this. Start traveling through the Rastafari faith. The next time I hear him, he was a Muslim. Change him name and everything. I think him change all them children name too. And become a Muslim. And, you know, people move. It move. And we see move from Islam and move into a level of I am. Recognizing when I think what's your name there, they ask him, Ellis Kelly asked him in an interview about him journey, and him answer in the effect that him reach level now where I am a God. Yes. Him start to say I in I. Not as how Rasta say it, but as how him start to see it and recognize it in himself. Spirituality take hold of him. And him start to move in another way there. Jimmy Cliff. Sitting in limbo and move beyond that. Yeah, you know, and I listen to Jimmy Cliff album them and some of the song them. If you listen to good, you can know which part him head there. Yeah? If you really listen to him, not just sing anything. Or just because him want to sing something, him sing it. Him write in a way where if you listen to the song properly, you can say, oh, this him head there, yeah. I will if I want just write song because him feels him have to write a song, you know, but it's few people, you know, just write song not because of commercial success, but because of which part them mindset there. And I find that Jimmy Cliff song them is, Jimmy Cliff is one of them man who him write songs, give him and listen to himself and figure out himself at certain stage. That is why I'm changing him name from Jimmy Cliff. I think I don't call him Ajay. What is a Muslim name, Ajay. I don't know, he pronounced it H-A-D-J, Ajay, yeah. And he moved from that. Yeah, eventually move from the Muslim thing and go back to him name. So him stop using name Ajay and go back to Jimmy Cliff. And then realize in all I'm going round, I'm just come back round and realize I him. Yeah, I him. Yesterday I you know that I talk about Cuba a while ago, and when the first time we left Jamaica and got to do a big show was with Jimmy Cliff in a Cuba. Now I experienced 3 things in a Cuba, and it really stuck in my mind from them time there. 1, 2 stage. Like when one stage I go on, and next stage I set up. And when that stage there done set up, them have some electronic thing where I move the stage up front and the other one move, go back. And them set up the stage. So you have a continuous flow of artists who have them own band around. So it just keep going away there. That is one thing. I mean, up to now, one time I see it again. I was, I think, in Arizona, but this one was a stage where I go round. It keep going round and round, and when you perform, everybody's in a circle and the stage I go round. Serious thing. Anyway, the next thing what me say is that the place where the show I keep, it never have no wall. It never have no fence. It's a rope. It's a rope them put round the venue, you know. And believe you me, nobody now step over the rope and go in at the show. Them go which part them supposed to pay and come in at the show. The rope go right round the venue. Hey, that can't not Jamaica. That can't not Jamaica, you know. You think you could have keep a show with big artists that come from Africa and Jamaica and all them places. And you have a rope round the venue say I keep out the people them. That can't not Jamaica. But that was something where I was a marvel man. For no say the rope there and nobody now walk over the rope. The next thing we say is a brother named Sonny Okoson, where we eventually meet in a Nigeria. Sonny Okoson show me that the African them was sending messages with the talking drum. This drum with them put on them arm and a piece of sticker lick it. And to prove it to me, him say, him go whisper something in my ears. And what I'm going to do is tell him bridging over the other side what I say, what him said to me, pan the drum. So him say something to me, nobody not hear what him say, I'm alone hear it. And him put the drum on them arm and start beat it. And him call the brethren and say, tell him when me say, and the exact thing where him tell me, at that the brethren come tell me, say him do pan the drum. And me go experience it again in Africa. This talking drum will send messages. And that is why them ban the drum in our slavery days. Because the African them used to use it and send messages. Yes. The power of the African mind and the African culture. People afraid of it. A whole heap of people afraid of it. Make people sit down and think about themselves and think about what's going on around them. Yes. Not angry against each other, but angry against the system. The rebel in me and the rebel in you. Bring out the love. Serious thing. Whoa. Version. Yes, we did say 50 years ago, the movie make the order they come, put Jamaica on the map differently musically. Story about a brother, what them call him in the movie, but it's a real brother, them take it off roughly. A man named Raigin. Yes, Raigin, big man, used to terrorize people out of airport, Palacios Airport, him named Raigin. But that movie is like what them call it, a cult movie, classic, where people just keep going to see it and going to see it continuously. As a matter of fact, the soundtrack for the album, soundtrack for the movie, as a compilation, and it go on good. I think the first reggae album for really sell where it sell to, I think it go gold. Yeah, it go gold. But it put Jamaica on the map globally as a strong contender for cultural expression. During the 60s, they would have a war, America and they go to Vietnam and start a war, which them lose. Can you imagine that? What people never know say, America can lose war, you know. But them lose it. Anyway, this song I'm going to play now is a song where was a anthem in them time there. All over the world, anthem. I played a song named Vietnam a while ago. A song where was a echo and a cry for people who realized that the Vietnam War was really not a thing with them desire. If you consider, say, America going to that country there and a 50,000 soldier dead, American soldier, who never dead. Some stay there and married all the Vietnamese women too. Yes, but 50,000 of them dead in that war. For nothing at all. Terrible thing. Still, I don't know how much I still out there still, but I totally enjoy it because some of them tune, a long time I don't listen to them. Long time I don't listen to them. And you can bet, see that funeral there? You will see a whole heap of rock star come down here. Yeah, rock star I'm not talking about. Big rock star too. He was in the Rock Hall of Fame. Yes. Jamaica, man. Can't get rid of it. Can't get rid of it at all. Look here, what? You know, I know them now listen, maybe them now listen, maybe somebody know them and I listen. Tell them, say, Muta say, condolences to Roberta and Blewett. Yes. Two sisters who I know personally, Roberta and Blewett. Condolences. Yes. Great artists, undoubtedly. Who can deny that?
And now the details. The Mandeville Regional Hospital in Manchester is operating above capacity following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Chief Executive Officer Alwyn Miller says the increase in admissions is being driven by an influx of patients from other parishes. Several patients were transferred to Mandeville Hospital after Category 5 Hurricane Melissa damaged health facilities in other parishes, including St. Elizabeth, St. James and Trelawney. In an interview today, Mr. Miller said admissions are over 45% of normal bed capacity, which is 226.
So most days we have at least 330 plus patients admitted in the hospital. We have moved away from emergency mode and we have resumed elective surgeries. And this is very important because we do not want our patients to deteriorate. Therefore, we want to have as early an intervention as we can. And we are especially focusing on those urgent patients with cancers and other such illnesses. Our maternity ward is full to capacity, and we have a lot of postnatal babies, most days in excess of 30 postnatal babies. So we are operating above capacity at this time.
He is urging persons to exercise caution and avoid activities which may result in injury and require hospitalization.
So there are three groups that are three sets of scenarios that I would ask persons to be careful. First of all, patients who have non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension in particular, we want to encourage them to take their medication. When they don't take their medication, they may get ill and they may require hospitalization. We believe that this is preventable for the most part. We want to ask those who use our roadways to also exercise caution and try not to become a victim of a motor vehicle accident and end up having to be admitted or to obtain surgery. We have had significant amount of those patients as well, and our orthopedic ward is also full. The third group that I would want to ask to be cautious. So a lot of houses and buildings have been damaged by the hurricane, and persons are in the process of doing repairs. Sustain any sort of injury that may require hospital admission.
CEO of the Mandeville Regional Hospital, Alwyn Miller. And the Health Ministry has commenced a national maternal health outreach program to improve health education, awareness, and access to key services in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. State Minister for Health, Crystal Lee, led an intervention at the Black River Health Center Antenatal Clinic on Friday. It was the first in a series of 3 across southern and western parishes. Ms. Lee said repair and recovery efforts at health facilities are being accelerated, and in particular, maternal and child health services are being restored so that mothers can receive uninterrupted, high-quality antenatal care. Through last week's intervention, more than 45 mothers accessed a suite of maternal care services, which included health checks, psychosocial counseling, ultrasound sonography, and physical activity assessment. Over 60 care packages were also distributed to pregnant and lactating mothers. They contained hygiene kits, food supplies, including supplements, baths, and mosquito nets. Ms. Lee said additional outreach teams, mobile clinics, and community health workers have been mobilized to ensure that even mothers in the hardest hit areas get the support they need.
You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want.
Tributes continue to pour in for reggae legend Jimmy Cliff, who passed away this morning. Jimmy Cliff, whose real name is James Chambers, was the recipient of Ari FM's inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award in February 2017 for his contribution to film and music, as well as for being a social activist. Cliff died at age 81. Clement Reed reports.
In a post on Cliff's official Instagram page this morning, his wife, Latifah Chambers, said the reggae icon passed away after seizure followed by pneumonia. Among those paying tribute to the late reggae star are Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and opposition leader Mark Golding. They both hailed Jimmy Cliff as a giant in the reggae industry. The leaders were supported by Minister of Culture and Entertainment Olivia Grange, who said that with the passing of Jimmy Cliff, Jamaica and the world have undoubtedly lost one of the greatest proponents of Jamaican music and a film pioneer. Minister Grange said she spoke with Jimmy's wife and conveyed her personal condolences and that of the government. She lauded Cliff for giving so much of his life to delivering music which had a peculiar and relevant message and resonated in every corner of the globe.
Jimmy Cliff is no doubt a pioneer of music and must also be appropriately hailed as a legend of our time. His songs, including Many Rivers to Cross, You Can Get It If You Really Want, The Harder They Come, Reggae Night, Hakuna Matata, left a positive impact on millions of people across the globe. Jimmy was a really unique and special talent who has left an indelible mark on the global music industry. He also had diverse skills and was known for his mastery of the various genres of Jamaican music: ska, rocksteady, reggae, and soul. We should not forget that Jimmy was also an accomplished actor. Rest in eternal peace, Jimmy. Your physical work on earth is done, but your music, your legacy will live on.
For her part, opposition spokesperson on culture and the creative industries, Nikisha Burchell, said Jimmy Cliff was not only a musical trailblazer, but a cultural ambassador who helped define Jamaica's place in the world. She said through his timeless catalogue and his iconic performance in the harder they come, he carried the sound, struggles, and spirit of Jamaicans across continents. Her condolences, Miss Birchall stated that Jimmy Cliff gave the world a piece of Jamaica that could never be forgotten. Reporting for IRFM News, I'm Clement Reed.
And Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, is among those paying tribute to the late Jimmy Cliff, the son of St. James. Hailing from Somerton in the parish, Cliff was noted for his prolific songwriting skills, memorable acting, and championing of human rights. Mayor Vernon said Cliff's passing has left the entertainment fraternity and millions of admirers across the globe in shock and grief.
The entertainment industry, the parish of St. James, Jamaica, and indeed the world has suffered an immeasurable loss with the passing of reggae icon Jimmy Cliff. His death is a profound loss to the entertainment world. His world-renowned hit songs such as Many Rivers to Cross, The Harder They Come, and You Can Get It If You Really Want will continue to inspire generations, decades after their release. The voice of this icon will never be silenced, and his legacy, music, memories, and the bond he shared with the Jamaican people and the world will live on. I offer profound sympathies to his family members, especially his wife Latifah, his countless fans worldwide, and the citizens of his beloved Somerton community. May you all be comforted by the memories Jimmy Cliff shared, the world-class music he gifted us over many decades, and the joy we experienced watching him on the big screen in films such as The Harder They Come.
Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, he also noted that the St. James Municipal Corporation had renamed Gloucester Avenue as Jimmy Cliff Boulevard, a symbolic gesture to enshrine the memory of the international reggae icon. In the meantime, Kingston Mayor Andrew Swaby said Cliff's story reminds Jamaicans that even when the road feels rough, resilience remains among the strongest traits. The Health Ministry has outlined a 5-pillar strategic response to the leptospirosis outbreak. Portfolio Minister Christopher Tufton declared the outbreak at a press briefing today. It follows the passage of Hurricane Melissa, which has heightened the risk of waterborne contaminants. As at yesterday, there were 87 suspected leptospirosis cases, 37 of which are post-Hurricane Melissa cases. Confirmed or suspected cases have been recorded in St. Anne, St. Mary, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, and St. Catherine. There are 8 suspected leptospirosis-related deaths. Director of Health Promotion in the Health Ministry, Dr. Simone Spence, who was also speaking at the press conference, said in response to the outbreak, the ministry is focusing on enhanced surveillance, environmental health and vector control, protection of high-risk groups, being clinically prepared, as well as public education.
In terms of surveillance and case management, or enhanced surveillance is in high-risk parishes, which ensures that we detect our cases early so that we can act appropriately. The public health teams are conducting rapid case investigations to trace environmental sources. There is case mapping to identify potential clusters early and to act quickly, as well as prioritize testing for persons with fever and recent flood exposure.
She said environmental health activities have also been bolstered.
In terms of our environmental health actions, our rodent control programs have been intensified in key areas, such as baiting, trapping, and sanitation improvements to reduce infestation, coordinated with relevant authorities for drain cleaning and solid waste removal to eliminate rodent harborage and stagnant water, the distribution of chlorine tablets to households for safe water treatment, as well as continued coordination and collaboration with National Water Commission and our municipal corporations at the local level to restore chlorination in piped supplies.
Dr. Spence said high-risk groups such as the elderly, children, farmers, volunteers, and sanitation workers must be protected.
When it comes to the protection of high-risk groups, importantly, we need to continue to promote the use of personal protective equipment such as the appropriate gloves and water boots among our first responders and sanitation workers. And we also need safety briefings for vector control teams or parish cleanup crew, sanitation worker, and our volunteers who are working in the most affected parishes to ensure that they are remaining compliant with wearing these PPEs.
She noted that in relation to clinical preparedness, sensitization sessions are being held with all healthcare providers.
To suspect leptospirosis in any patient who meets the established case definition, we do have adequate stock of antibiotics and other items that we need to treat leptospirosis cases that have been identified at all our health facilities. And certainly our referral pathways have been strengthened for severe cases, including those who present with jaundice, kidney failure, and or bleeding.
Additionally, Dr. Spence explained that the ministry's public education campaign is multi-pronged.
So public education campaigns via radio, TV, social media. We're also using town criers as well as community outreach sessions. Our key messages include avoid wading in flood water and mud, using boots and gloves during cleanup, store food safely and make sure our containers are appropriately covered, washing our hands and disinfect frequently. In terms of community engagement, we participate in health fairs, farm visits, etc., so that we are able to do one-on-one sessions with the community that we are having these interventions in. And of course, we can't do this all by ourselves, so there is collaboration with RADA, Jamaica Agricultural Society, as well as other agencies through ODPEM to ensure that we're reaching our rural farmers as well as our cleanup volunteers.
Director of Health Promotion in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Simone Spence. Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, representative to Jamaica, Ian Steen, says the organization is offering support to the hurricane-ravaged country in response to the leptospirosis outbreak. Mr. Steen said in addition to other assistance being rendered, PAHO is supporting health worker training on early detection of leptospirosis.
We are working, of course, very closely with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to provide supplemental technical guidance on reinforcing surveillance, laboratory diagnostics, and case management. We supplied essential laboratory reagents to ensure rapid confirmation of cases. PAHO is supporting the Ministry of Health's training for health workers on early detection of leptospirosis, clinical management, and infection prevention. Together with partners such as UNICEF, we are collaborating with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to expand the reach of public health messages, ensuring that communities receive clear, practical information about prevention, especially in flood-affected areas. As PAHO and UNICEF are both coordinating with the regional and international partners to mobilize additional supplies, additional protective equipment, and additional technical expertise.
He lauded the Health Ministry for its swift dissemination of information on post-disaster disease prevention.
We strongly encourage everyone to follow the guidance that the Ministry of Health and Wellness has provided, as these measures are following the best international practices and are essential to controlling the outbreak and protecting your health and your community's health. Since Hurricane Melissa, the Ministry has acted quickly to inform the public about disease prevention, sharing clear guidance on avoiding floodwaters, using protective footwear when it is necessary to traverse floodwaters, protecting food and water supplies, and seeking care if symptoms arise. At the same time, surveillance has been strengthened to detect suspected cases of leptospirosis and other post-disaster diseases. Timely investigations are underway, supported by enhanced laboratory capacity that enables rapid testing and early intervention. These actions allow health teams to act quickly and save lives.
PAHO representative to Jamaica, Ian Steen. The roof of the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay, St. James, has been fully restored just 3 weeks after being destroyed by Hurricane Melissa. The project was funded by Doctors Without Borders. The group said Jamaican contractors repaired 1,434 square meters of roofing. This marks a significant milestone in the recovery plan and allows the hospital to resume minimal operating capacity in selected wards. Hurricane Melissa caused extensive damage to the facility, with 81% of the hospital's total roof surface damaged or blown off. Critical areas including accident and emergency, maternal health, the laboratory, the nursery were affected, leading to severe flooding and rendering many parts of the hospital inoperable. Working alongside the Pan American Health Organization, emergency authorities, CRH management, Western Regional Health Authority and local contractors, Doctors Without Borders organized and funded the reconstruction efforts. Emergency coordinator Estefanos Menjintsu said the repairs will allow the authorities to focus on restoring the hospital to its pre-Melissa capacity.
Our team decided to support this hospital to make sure that the minimal essential activities resume, and as much as possible to bring all the activities, bed capacity and so on, as before the hurricane. So with this, today we have finalized the maintenance of the roofs and then other activities to make sure that these departments provide a minimal environment for activities and medical services to continue. The hospital, as we speak, is already functioning, and the roofs has been repaired, and routine activities is ongoing. We are trying to do as much as we can in our capacity to make sure that other remaining needs are covered.
Emergency Coordinator Estefanos Benjitsu. Doctors Without Borders is collaborating closely with the Health Ministry to identify other damaged health facilities and begin reconstruction as soon as possible. As the country transitions out of the immediate response through the recovery, reconstruction, and return to normality phases, government is considering the use of relief vouchers for persons affected by Hurricane Melissa. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness noted that it's costly to continue the method of relief being undertaken now. He said over time, this type of support will taper off, but people will still need aid. So the administration has to find other means of providing support that are reliable and accountable.
As in any disaster, after a while that dries up and the state has to have a standing facility to continue to provide the service. So it's necessary that we start that transitioning in anticipation of what is going to happen. And to facilitate that further, we're going to eventually move away from the distribution of packages to, first of all, a coupon or a card system once we get the shops and stores up and running, and then eventually that will be rolled into an augmented path program where persons who are in need of this kind of relief over an extended period of time can be supported seamlessly. All right? So we are trying to return to normalcy as quickly as possible.
Dr. Holness said the coupon or voucher system will also require that businesses resume normal operations for persons to be able to access the aid. He said the government is supporting businesses' resumption through loans and grants.
We would support profit-making entities by loaning them generators or Starlink communication devices so that they can start operations, so that we can transition from everyday packing a bag, loading it on a truck, driving it to an area. Then we have to have security to protect it, and then we have to take the soldiers to go out and give it to a simpler way, which gives people dignity. They don't have to go and stand up in line and waiting to get. Secondly, gives people choice, because you start to hear it already. You know, tired of what is in the bag. All right, no, I don't want any more bag. Carry something else, come. And we start to hear that coming already. So transitioning back to normalcy restores dignity. It gives choice.
The Prime Minister said vouchers also allow for accountability as it relates to donations and distribution.
But the biggest thing for us, the biggest advantage, it gives accountability. Let me be clear. All of what we have given out so far, the accountability rests on what countries have given to us and what we have recorded in our stores and what we have given out to persons who we expect to give out to others. We have no record of the end beneficiary because we have not asked for any identification. We have not asked for anybody to provide their TRN. In this phase of the relief, it's about just getting the food out there, getting the care packages out there to people. Because were you to do that, you would see an avalanche of misinformation, which we saw coming out. So we have made sure that we have moved the products, the humanitarian supply into the community as quickly as possible. But that can't go on forever. Once we start to make huge expenditures on humanitarian relief, we must be able to give a certain level of certainty that the expenditure went to the beneficiary. And so we need a system where that can be done.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. And the Prime Minister says even as his government responds to the effects of Hurricane Melissa, it will try to keep the commitments made by the Jamaica Labour Party in its election manifesto. He made the disclosure at his special press briefing yesterday. The Prime Minister explained that there will, however, be fiscal choices that must be made.
We are going to try to keep our commitments from the manifesto. As I said before, we don't want to slow down the development of Jamaica as we pursue the recovery and reconstruction. There are going to be, however, fiscal choices, meaning do I spend the limited resources now on X or do I spend it on Y? So the general rule would be if spending on the election promise is not something that is going to yield immediately greater results than spending it on the recovery or on the reconstruction, then we would go for what yields the greater overall result.
He assured that the GLP administration will balance the fulfillment of promises made in its manifesto with tackling the human interest issues linked to Hurricane Melissa.
And that's why you have a government too, and you can be assured that in the cabinet you have what you could describe as fiscal conservatives and persons who I won't describe them in any other way other than they believe that you should spend on the human concerns and so forth. So it's a good balance, and so we're going to debate them. And I'm sure that there are some things that we won't do right away, and some things that we will continue with. So the short answer to you is that the commitment that we have is to maintain government as much as possible, keep moving forward, to keep the commitments. But if there are trade-offs to be made, we will make the trade-off as what is best for growing Jamaica.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. The matter involving Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and his election challenger Paul Buchanan returns to the Supreme Court next month for determination. Buchanan, who contested the September 3 general election on a People's National Party ticket for the West Central St. Andrew constituency, is seeking to void the results. Dr. Holness of the Jamaica Labour Party had been declared the winner of the seat. Buchanan claimed that there were ballot box irregularities, intimidation, and voter suppression, among other issues. He brought the matter before the Constitutional Authority, which did not rule in his favor. Buchanan then filed an application to seek judicial review of the Constitutional Authority's decision. That aspect was heard by the Supreme Court on Tuesday. His lawyer, Hugh Wellman, told RFM News that the legal arguments in the case were presented. The judge is to rule on December 8th. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett said 32,000 cruise passengers have arrived at the Ocherous port in St. Anne since its reopening on November 11. The port was closed in February 2024 after strong winds slammed a docked cruise ship into the pier, causing severe structural damage. Speaking during a tour of hotels and attractions in the resort town yesterday, the minister said 8 more cruise ship visits are expected next week. He said this would push arrivals to the port to 64,000 passengers in 2 weeks.
In the first week of the return of cruise, we hosted 32,000 cruise passengers. And the next week, starting on Monday, we will have 8 visits during that week for another 32,000. So that Ocherous would be 64,000 visitors visiting in 2 weeks in cruise tourism. Cruise tourism is back in Ocherous. So this is why Ocherous is our live demonstration of responsible recovery. A corridor that shows we can reopen safely and in an orderly way.
Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett. The Senate today formally placed on record the passing of former government senator and former chief executive officer of Grace Kennedy Group, Don Webby. Webby died on July 26, 2025 at the University Hospital of the West Indies after a period of illness. President of the Senate, Tom Tavares Finson, described Webby as an inspirational and innovative leader whose contribution to national development spanned both the public and the private sectors.
Senator Webby served with distinction in this honorable house for more than 10 years, including his role as a minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service from 2007 to 2009. Senator Webby, or Don as we refer to him, was also an inspirational and innovative leader who oversaw the modernization of the Grace Kennedy Group. Senator Webby was the recipient of the Order of Jamaica and commander of the Order of Distinction. Order of Jamaica, I think, was earlier this year, and he was named the 31st inductee to the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica Hall of Fame. We recognize Senator Webby for his service to the Senate and the nation.
Senate President Tom Tavares Finson and Opposition Senator Dr. Floyd Morris and Director of the Center for Disability Studies also paid tribute to Mr. Webby. He noted that the late senator consistently supported initiatives aimed at improving the lives of vulnerable Jamaicans.
Don's philanthropic endeavors. Don gave willingly to worthy causes. John was facing immense cash flow problems. Combined Disabilities Association is a non-governmental organization, and it depends on support from various individuals and organizations. And I remember speaking to Don in the Senate about the problems being experienced by the organization. And without hesitation, he said to me, send a letter directly to me on behalf of the Combined Disabilities Association. I did, and certainly up to the point of his passing. Every year since I spoke to him, he was making an annual contribution to the Combined Disabilities Association.
Opposition Senator Dr. Floyd Morris. 15 children have been killed in road crashes since the start of the year. The latest casualty was recorded yesterday. 10-year-old Shamir Shaw was hit by a Jamaica Urban Transit Company bus in Vineyard Town, Kingston. The National Road Safety Council, NRC, has expressed regret at the incident. Vice Chairman Dr. Lucian Jones noted that the tragedy highlights the importance of road safety measures for children.
Most of the deaths in this age group, 0 to 18, have involved children riding on a motorcycle. But some, including this young child, have died as pedestrians trying to find their way home safely. This, of course, raises the issue of how do we as a nation that cares for our very vulnerable young people ensure that they reach home safely day after day coming from school. Is it that our children need more supervision? For example, should an adult or older sibling be there for them when they come off the bus and walk home, or when walking the entire distance from school? Should we try to expand the school bus system so that no child is left behind to fend for his or herself? How old is old enough to negotiate the ever-present traffic on the streets of the nation's capital or any other busy thoroughfare in Jamaica? And of course, following police investigations, we will know if any other issues need to be tackled. What we can all agree is that we need to find a solution urgently, as not one more child should die and cause so much pain for family and friends.
NRSC Vice Chairman Dr. Lucian Jones. 334 road deaths have been recorded since the start of the year. A Kingston man who escaped police custody, eluded cops for years, then was recaptured, has been charged in relation to the offense. He is 27-year-old Karim Brown, otherwise called Dollar Coin, of High Holborn Street, Kingston. Brown reportedly escaped through a defective window at a police station in central Kingston in 2022. At the time, he was being processed in relation to another offense. Reports are that in December 2022, cops assigned to the Kingston Central Policing Division carried out a search at Brown's home. During the search, a Glock 19 pistol and an FX magazine containing 17 9mm rounds of ammunition was reportedly found in a green suitcase inside a room occupied by Brown. Brown was arrested and charged with possession of a prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, and simple larceny. However, while being processed at the station, Brown escaped and was on the run for 3 years. He was apprehended along Lisson Road in Kingston on Sunday, November 9. Following an interview in the presence of his attorney, Brown was slapped with the additional charge. A court date is being finalized. In St. Catherine this afternoon, the identities of those killed are being withheld pending notification to next of kin. Head of the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, Assistant Commissioner of Police Dr. Gary McKenzie, said the crash happened at about 3 p.m. at Sharper Lane near Old Harbour. Reports are that the driver of a Toyota Hiace bus lost control of the vehicle, which veered off the road, then overturned in a ditch. The police were summoned and the 20 injured occupants of the bus were taken to hospital, where a man and a woman were pronounced dead and the others admitted.
So about 3 p.m. today, the police began investigation into the report of a motor vehicle crash along the PJ Patterson Highway. When the police went there, they discovered that along the PJ Patterson Highway in the vicinity of Sharper Lane, that a Toyota Hiace with about 20 persons traveling on board. It is apparent that the vehicle developed some problems. It veered to the left, went off the roadway and overturned. As a result of that, several persons were injured. We can confirm that a man and a woman have so far died. There are several others that can be considered serious, and they are at the hospital being treated at this time.
Head of the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Dr. Gary McKenzie. Meantime, the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, TODS, has expressed sadness at the fatal motor vehicle crash along the PJ Patterson Highway in St. Catherine today. The crash involved a Toyota Hiace bus being operated as a public passenger vehicle. TODS President Edgerton Newman lamented the tragic incident and appealed to drivers to be careful on the roads.
It is a grieving situation at this point, where several persons are injured from a 15-seater Hiace bus traveling from the countryside. About 2 persons lost their life in this tragic accident. This is just a few days since we started our 40-day road safety campaign that we do. This is the 9th stage of the campaign, and it's saddened that at this time, when we are calling on operators, our drivers and drivers on a whole to take it easy on our road. We believe that this is a mechanical situation, maybe a couple of tires has blown, but from all indication, it is a tragic accident on our highway today. And we urge, at this time of the year, we urge all drivers, please, for heaven's sake, to take it easy on the road.
TODS President Edgerton Newman. And then an update on the fatal motor vehicle crash along the PJ Patterson Highway in St. Catherine. The National Road Safety Council is reporting that the fatality has increased to 5, 3 men and 2 women. NRSC Vice Chairman Dr. Lucian Jones also stated that 9 persons, including a child, are hospitalized.
I was just informed this evening that there was a terrible crash on the East-West Highway approaching the Vineyards Toll Road, and that 5 persons have died and that 9 persons were taken to the Spanish Town Hospital. A few of them critically injured, others not so badly injured. 3 men have died and 2 females, and one of the injured is a 2-year-old child. The report says that a tire blew out. The question is whether or not the vehicle was traveling high speeds is to be the subject of investigation. And the minivan hit against a guardrail and flipped several times. And that's why we had so many injuries.
NRSC Vice Chairman Dr. Lucian Jones. In other news, 3 of the 11 suspected leptospirosis-related deaths have been confirmed. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the disclosure today. A leptospirosis outbreak was declared last Friday. Dr. Tufton said as at November 22, there were 91 suspected, probable, or confirmed cases.
We stand as of the 22nd of November on record 91 suspected, probable, or confirmed cases of the disease, with 10 PCR confirmed cases. That is a testing, which is the gold standard of testing for this kind of illness. 11 deaths, 3 of which are confirmed leptospirosis deaths.
He said cases are expected to taper off in the coming days.
The indication from the team, this is the EPI team collecting the data from our centennial sites across the country, is that the increase in suspected or confirmed cases is taking place at a decreasing rate. Now, what's the ray of hope in that? Is that we are expecting, therefore, that it will taper off and then hopefully decline to what would be more in keeping with the average rates in the country.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. 845 schools are operational following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Schools began reopening on Monday, November 3. Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon said in Region 4, 24 of the 25 high schools are open. Schools in Region 4 suffered the most hurricane damage.
24 of the 25 high schools in Region 4 are open for grades 11 to 13. So those are for our students who are doing CSEC and CAPE. 24 out of 25 in the most affected area. And that's phenomenal. That's a lot of really hard work that has gone into that. We're expecting that within the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to get all students back in, but it will be on a rotational, a shift basis.
She said Cabinet approved funding for schools damaged by the storm.
We got approval at Cabinet for funding to repair the most badly damaged schools. And so we're starting the work, and the Ministry and the National Education Trust, we're moving as quick as we can. And we've already started work on 3 schools, Monroe and Hampton, and also St. Elizabeth Technical High Schools. So those 3 schools work have already started. What we're doing is prioritizing the high schools and those with boarding facilities. As you'd understand, where many of our students in the West need to board. And so we are focused on those schools. There are some additional schools that have facilities that haven't been used for boarding, and they are going to be fixing those facilities to take in more boarders from the West.
Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon. The government has allocated $10 million to each constituency to facilitate the cleanup of debris left in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. Additionally, government will allocate $150,000 to each divisional councillor. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness said the National Cleanup Program follows reports by the United Nations Development Program that Hurricane Melissa left more than 4.8 million tons of debris across the island. This is equivalent to approximately 480,000 standard truckloads. Speaking in Parliament yesterday, Dr. Holness explained that the constituency allocations covered drain cleaning, vector control, depushing, and waste removal.
Government has approved budgetary allocations for the National Cleanup Program, which will incorporate the annual constituency-based mitigation and cleanup program. $10 million per constituency has been allocated under the National Constituency-based mitigation program. The allocation will be broken down as follows: $2 million for drain and waterway cleaning and vector control to reduce the spread of pests and disease, $5 million for de-embushing, and $3 million for debris and waste removal. This investment is not only routine seasonal maintenance, it will neatly dovetail into a broader program of cleaning and debris management. Additional funding will be provided to the 16 most affected constituencies across Westmoreland, 3 constituencies, Hanover, 2 constituencies, St. James, 5 constituencies, Trelawney, 2 constituencies, and St. Elizabeth, 4 constituencies.
The Prime Minister said about 200 persons in each constituency will be employed for the program.
So this program will employ between 100 and 200 persons per constituency. So in the 16 constituencies named, in addition to areas in other constituencies affected, we will employ between 100 to 200 persons to assist with the cleanup. The Social Development Commission will oversee the recruitment, training, and organization of work teams. Our aim is to ensure that all workers are properly documented, are supported to open a bank account where needed, and receive basic training in the safe handling and disposal of debris and waste. This is part of a wider effort to formalize labor, strengthen social protection, and uphold decent work principles even during an emergency. The National Solid Waste Management Authority will coordinate operational planning and work schedules. They will be supported by the Jamaica Defence Force, the National Spatial Data Unit, utilizing GIS mapping to tag and track debris.
He said additional trucks and heavy-duty equipment are being acquired for the program.
We are identifying additional temporary disposal sites and exploring recycling and the circular economy solutions, which will include using wood chippers to process vegetative waste and mulch, to process vegetative waste for mulch and compost, establishing structured scrap metal recovery and recovering reusable construction material, and partnering with private firms to pilot community-level material sorting. These measures are essential to build long-term resilience in waste and debris management. We have also begun securing additional trucks, compactors, bulldozers, and heavy equipment, including through pledged international support.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, members of Parliament and councillors in the targeted areas will receive detailed instructions and guidelines. Letters confirming allocations and outlining the utilisation process will be issued by Friday. Meantime, the National Cleanup Program is expected to commence in Westmoreland next week. Minister of Local Government Desmond McKenzie said the 16 most affected constituencies will participate in the program over the next few weeks.
I want to make the point that we might not be able to accomplish all that we want in that period, but the necessary arrangements are in place if we have to go beyond.
He is again urging Jamaicans to participate in the program.
The call is being made for well-thinking Jamaicans to join in this exercise. So if you have a truck, a tractor, backhoe, any heavy-duty equipment that you have that can assist in the cause, you can make it available when we go to respective parishes.
Meantime, the local government ministry is looking to install prefabricated housing units in sections of the country to accommodate displaced persons following Hurricane Melissa. Addressing a press conference today, Portfolio Minister Desmond McKenzie said these will be especially for those who occupy school facilities. Mr. McKenzie stated that the initiative will house persons who previously occupied the infirmaries in Trelawney and Westmoreland.
We'll be inspecting some prefabricated solutions that we intend to, over the next 2 weeks, to install in Trelawney that will house the almost 130 persons which are required to occupy the infirmary. Now, this is going to take some time, but in the meantime, while we continue to put those in motion, I'm going to beg of you, we're talking about the elderly now, the older generations, who we have to be careful how we move them. We have a similar situation in Westmoreland where one of the wings of the infirmary was totally destroyed and another section of the drop-in facility was also destroyed. And again, we are going to be using the same solution that we will be instituting in Trelawney to relieve the situation in Westmoreland.
Minister of Local Government Desmond McKenzie. The time of the Prime Minister is not best used handing out a bag of this and a bag of that. Those words came from Dr. Andrew Holness in response to questions surrounding his recent visit to the G20 summit in South Africa.
It is oftentimes not looked upon as being of any great import. One member I overheard saying, when God South Africa, he should be here marshalling the recovery. And I shake my head. And the reason why that I understand how our electorate and how even some of our intellectuals will think about it. And we didn't take the decision of going lightly. In fact, Mr. Speaker, up until a couple days before, the decision was that I would not be going. But we discussed it and we debated it, and the offer was even extended for us to attend. And we decided that, given that that was the case, we attended.
Speaking last evening in Parliament, Dr. Holness underscored that the time of the Prime Minister is best used mobilizing international communities to provide aid for relief efforts. He further expressed that the focus of the government is rebuilding better.
The measure of the recovery is not going to be in how fast you deliver the package of food. The measure of the recovery is going to be how fast you return electricity and water. How you kept the population safe from diseases and health risks and mentally positive in outlook. But the ultimate measure is going to be how you rebuild forward better. Not that you take up a shack that was destroyed in the hurricane and build back another shack. That is not what is going to be measured as success. And to do that, the time of the Prime Minister is not best used handing out a bag of this and a bag of that. The time of the Prime Minister is best used mobilizing the international community to deliver the billions of dollars that is going to be necessary to rebuild the country. So for those people who want to create mischief and mislead people, I leave my judgment to the reconstruction.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. Jamaica's poverty rate dropped from 7.8% in 2024, down from 8.2% for the previous year. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, made the disclosure during a press conference yesterday.
The Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, has produced the official poverty prevalence estimates for 2024, computed from the Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions, JSLC, data collected by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. In Jamaica, consumption expenditure data, rather than income, is used to measure poverty due to the availability and relative accuracy of the data. The rates are first calculated from household data at the regional level, then aggregated nationally. In 2024, the national poverty rate was estimated at 7.8% of the population, compared with 8.2% in 2023. Given the margin of error, the 2024 rate is statistically similar to 8.2% recorded in 2023. Extreme food poverty remained at 2.7%.
Dr. Henry said the results indicate that poverty remained at levels similar to 2023 despite economic shocks. He noted that the 2024 results reflect relative stability across all regions of the country.
The relative stability of the poverty rate occurred in a year of economic disruption as real GDP contracted due to weather-related shocks, which reduced agricultural output and rural earnings. However, the government's targeted relief interventions, a moderation of inflation, and increased employment helped to preserve household consumption. The 2024 results reflect relative stability across all regions of the country. In the Greater Kingston Metropolitan Area, GKMA, poverty was recorded at 2.5%, relative to 3% in 2023. The rate in the GKMA was the lowest across regions, consistent with historical trends. In other urban centers, OUC, the rate was 9.4% for 2024, relatively unchanged from the 9% recorded in 2023. In rural areas, which historically experienced the highest rates of poverty, the rate was 11% compared with 11.5% recorded in 2023.
Director General of the PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry. Some communities in St. Anne have been plunged into darkness again, hours after crews successfully restored power. The Jamaica Public Service, JPS, is calling the incident a shocking act of sabotage. In a statement, JPS said teams conducting patrols discovered that a freshly planted utility pole was deliberately cut at the base, causing it to topple. The company states that this criminal act carried out in Bonham Springs in St. Anne resulted in a sudden outage affecting the Bonham Spring housing scheme, Handsmouth, Refugee Hill and Lower White River substation, all of which only had just regained electricity following extensive restoration work. JPS says it is deeply disturbed that anyone who would intentionally undermine the company's restoration efforts, particularly at a time when the electricity network suffered severe damage and crews continue to work around the clock to rebuild. The company is urging all well-thinking persons to remain vigilant and to immediately report any suspicious activity, vandalism, or signs of sabotage. The government, through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, held a high-level meeting with the Jamaica Umbrella Group of Churches to discuss opportunities for streamlined land titling and the process for adverse possession that continue to affect churches island-wide. Minister with responsibility for land titling and settlement, Robert Montague, was joined by senior representatives from the National Land Agency and the Ministry of Culture, which has oversight for the faith-based institutions. Mr. Montague emphasized the government's commitment to resolving long-standing land issues and accelerating the land titling program as part of wider development goals. He stated that the government's aim is to get titles for 100% of lands, and that is why the partnership is critical. Mr. Montague added that many of the churches have served their communities for generations, and they deserve a clear, affordable, and accessible pathway to formal land ownership. Representatives from the NLA delivered a detailed presentation outlining the step-by-step process for securing land titles, highlighting available support systems, and clarifying the legal procedures relating to adverse possession. The session included an interactive question and answer segment, enabling church leaders to raise specific concerns and receive direct guidance from technical experts. Mr. Montague emphasized that this initiative is a commitment by the Prime Minister and forms part of the government's ongoing land reform and titling strategy aimed at increasing the number of Jamaicans and community groups with registered and secure property rights.
The government has agreed to lend the Jamaica Public Service JPS $150 million to assist with restoration efforts following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Energy Minister Darrell Vaz made the disclosure yesterday in Parliament. JPS recently asked the government for an extension to its current license, which will expire in July 2027, to secure financing for post-hurricane restoration efforts. Mr. Vaz said the government is not prepared to discuss the extension of JPS's license. He said with the loan, JPS is now committed to restoring power to the worst affected parishes by February 2026.
We were able to work out yesterday and get approved by Cabinet an agreement to fast-track the restoration to end of January, latest early February. On the basis that the government of Jamaica is not prepared to negotiate any extension of any license other than the process that is going to take us from now until 2027 when this existing license expires. But based on the fact that we need restoration as a country in the shortest possible time, the government of Jamaica has agreed to loan the JPS $150 million United States dollars on the basis that they will use that money, which is estimated at $75 million a month, to restore the entire grid, save and except for any special area that may not be reachable, but the major areas by the end of January, latest early February.
Mr. Vaz said the power company will have 5 years to repay the loan.
What are the terms to make sure that the government and the taxpayers are fully protected? 5 years, with an interest rate to be negotiated by the Ministry of Finance, which I'm sure will be a reasonable interest rate, because the higher the interest rate is the more it's going to pass on to the consumer. And we are cognizant of that. However, they can pay as early as 2 years. Why? Because 2 years the license expires. They'll either have a renewed license or they won't have a license. If they have a license, they can attract financing. And if they don't have a license, the government has already indicated to them, based on our July 2025 letter, that we are prepared to acquire the assets of the Jamaica Public Service, which means that our money is protected fully.
Energy Minister Daryl Vaz. Opposition spokesperson on energy Philip Paulwell is again urging the government to avoid waiting until it's too late to negotiate the new terms of the Jamaica Public Service license. He was reacting to a statement in Parliament yesterday by his government counterpart Daryl Vaz that the administration is not prepared to discuss the extension of JPS's license, even as it lends the power company millions of dollars to facilitate Hurricane Melissa restoration efforts. The current JPS license expires in July 2027. Mr. Paulwell advised the government to negotiate the new terms while it has leverage.
As a minister, fervent on getting justice, fervent on seeing changes, one doesn't have to wait until 2027. Indeed, that JPS license was amended in 2008 by a JLP government and by me in 2016. And what we have been saying from 2023, don't wait until time runs out to adjust the license. Do it now. In fact, do it when you have leverage. So in my sectoral presentation in 2023, I mentioned certain changes that could have been negotiated then. In 2024, I repeated that. And in 2025, again, I came here and repeated what are some of the important critical changes that we need to effect before we get to July 2025, which was 2 years before July 2027. And so we waited and wasted time.
Mr. Paulwell also expressed concern about the government lending the JPS $150 million without knowing the interest rate.
The Minister of Finance isn't here, but normally in these matters, you would expect that the Minister of Finance, $150 million is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And so Minister, there are some questions. Firstly, you've mentioned that today the government is not yet aware of the interest rate. You can't lend money without that very important element. So let us know what that interest rate is.
Opposition spokesperson on energy Philip Paulwell. The Jamaican diaspora in the United States is being called on to assist with providing ambulances, mobile clinics, and vector control units as part of the Hurricane Melissa response efforts. The appeal came from Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton while addressing the virtual town hall Hurricane Melissa recovery update with Ambassador Anthony Anderson last evening. Dr. Tufton explained that the ministry has a donors document which outlines the various needs, among which are vehicles for mobility and logistics. He said many of the ministry's vehicles were destroyed. Dr. Tufton said through an arrangement with Toyota, certain vehicles can be retrofitted.
An ambulance, for example, would cost 25 million Jamaican dollars. However, if you purchase locally, there could be a savings. We work with Toyota Jamaica. They convert those vehicles that you see there, which is a regular highest bus, and they can build it out to be an ambulance at a cheaper cost. I think it's about 16 million or 17 million Jamaica. So it's like 100,000 US, somewhere in that region. You know, it could be that a couple of persons could come together and make that donation, or if one could contribute towards it. That's all fine. So there's a lot of flexibility. But the mobility of health services is critical, and we did suffer a lot of loss there, and we felt this was a good thing to package as a possible donation.
He explained that mobile clinics are needed so health services can be offered at the community level.
We are big as part of primary health care by providing health services in communities through mobile health clinics. And you may have a contact, or you may know someone with a contact,
or we could do one here in Jamaica via Toyota. But mobile health clinics are a big part of the future. We lost a few. We are teamed up with a number of NGOs that have. I'm patron for an NGO called Hummingbird. We have a men's health mobile clinic. We are now using it. We have loaned it to NHF, which has converted its usage to a mobile pharmacy. And we're going into communities and filling prescriptions until the health centers and the pharmacies are back up and running. But this is a valuable piece of equipment that can really go a far way to helping to take health to communities in rural Jamaica. And that would be a great donation by anyone or any group.
The minister added that vans for vector control can be sourced locally.
The vector control, and these are just pickup trucks that carry the equipment, a vehicle-mounted, fogger, or hand-mounted, and these can go into communities to spray the mosquitoes or to treat with the water. And we lost a couple of those. Those are, as you see on the screen, could be sourced locally or otherwise.
Also needed are patient transfer vehicles.
The multi-patient transport vehicles. And these are vehicles that carry a disabled person, someone in a wheelchair, so it has the appropriate mechanism to mount and to take persons or carry multiple patients at a time. What we have had to be doing is using the ambulance to move patients from one hospital to a referral hospital, and we could take multiple patients in a vehicle such as this. So that's another one that is a part of our donors document.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. Southern Parks and Markets Waste Management Limited, SPM, says it is intensifying solid waste collection in Manchester despite challenges due to Hurricane Melissa. Public Health Cleansing Inspector at SPM, Opal Samuels, made the statement at Manchester's local Board of Health meeting yesterday. She said weeks after numerous operational challenges, solid waste collection is to be ramped up in Manchester.
For the reporting period, solid waste collection in the parish faced operational challenges, primarily due to unavailability of units resulting from downtime, which led to backlog in several areas. Other ongoing challenges include improper containerization of waste, the presence of uncontainerized waste, and recurring mini-dumps that require frequent cleaning. Amid those challenges, the parish remains in relatively good condition, supported by prompt operational responses and continued dedication of the collection team. Presently, 7 units are operational across the parish.
Public Health Cleansing Inspector at SPM, Opal Samuels. And to end this newscast, here's a recap of the main points. Government to lend Jamaica Public Service $150 million to assist with post-Hurricane Melissa restoration efforts. Health